What is up, you guys? I'm Charmx. Today, I'm going to be reacting to Game Theory Toad's Deadly Secret by the Game Theorist. Now, I do not like Toad in Mario. I think Toad has to be one of my least favorite characters just because of his really annoying high-pitched voice. Anyway, what's his secret? Maybe he's an evil villain or something. I don't know. Anyway, with that being said, the original link's in the description. Make sure you go subscribe to the Game Theorist. Without any further ado, let's begin.
Yeah, thank you, Mario. Your princess is in another... Wait, what? Is he flipping me off? Oh my god.
Wow, the intro is so much different compared to the new one. Like, this is an older video. It's from 2015, so you know it's older. But, I mean, the intro sounds so much different. Like, there's a lot of missing instruments.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory, where we do theories on all kinds of games, but the ones on Nintendo get you guys the most excited, which is why there's so many of them. Supply and demand, my friends. You demand it, and I supply it, which is ironic since it's a lesson Nintendo doesn't seem to get. Amiibos, GameCube adapters for the Wii U, Majora's Mask 3DS XL. So while you wait for your $200 Rosalina and Luma amiibo to arrive from some random eBay scalper who understands basic economic principles, let's talk Mario. Does that intro qualify as shots having been fired? Maybe?
Yes. I think it does.
Anyway, what's the deal with the Mushroom Kingdom? I get that Princess Peach rules over it, but seriously, where are all the other human beings? And for that matter, why does the Mushroom Kingdom have a human ruler? And then what about royal succession? Princess Peach still isn't a queen, she's a princess. Mario doesn't even seem close to becoming a prince, and as weirdly suggestive as her sweet little notes can be construed, it really doesn't seem like either of them are putting much work into making a little Mushroom Kingdom heir. And for that matter, what's Bowser's deal? Why is he, demonic lord of the Koopas, so intent on kidnapping this lousy princess instead of getting...
Because he and the princess are having an affair! That's why.
Get together and cranking out a straight military victory. The point is, something awful fishy is definitely going on here, but this time I submit to you that we're not looking for a flat-out villain. No, that would be too obvious. This time our person of interest is someone secretly nefarious, someone coasting along while the heavies take all our attention, slide on those vests, and pull up your diapers, because I'm talking about Toad. What is Toad? Or more accurately, what are Toads? Why do they all look the same and yet Peach, their ruler, looks nothing like them? Well, would you believe me if I said that they're a parasitic life form that—
What? I mean, I don't like toads, but I don't think I'd go as far to say this.
Took over the bodies of the Mushroom Kingdom's original citizens. No, I don't blame you. Those gravelly-voiced bubbleheads don't look too threatening after all. And it seems like a pretty extreme claim, but give me the next 10 minutes of your life and I may just change that attitude. Let's look at the facts. Mushrooms play a very prominent role in the Mario franchise, and Toad's design is just another reflection of that. I mean, seriously, he has a mushroom growing out of his head. And before you call me out on it just being a hat, yes, he removed it in the TV series, but that's a non-canon source. In the games, it has always been firmly planted on his head, no matter how fast he's running, being shot out of a pipe, or whatever.
So it's not a hat? Also, you can see her dress there.
Why is that important? Well, there's a real-world fungus that grows out of your head and can control your mind and body. Pretty terrifying, right? Well, I believe that whatever the fungi known as Toad actually is, it behaves a heck of a lot like a mutated strain from the genus Cordyceps. If you've played The Last of Us, you can get an idea of what I'm talking about, but for those of you who prefer cold hard facts to half-reference 2-year-old video games, Cordyceps in nature is famous for infecting things like ants. The fungus exerts control over the mind of the host, forcing it to an environment with the proper temperature and humidity for its growth, as well as the optimal wind conditions for the spread of its spores. For ants, this often means climbing up and attaching themselves to the side of a plant, but for the toads, this would mean any number of dark, moist,
You better have a lot of evidence to back up this claim, Matt. I mean, that's freaking crazy. You're saying this mushroom thing isn't a hat, it's a fungus controlling him? What?
Out-of-the-way places, which, surprise, is very often exactly where you find them, huddled together in groups, or all by themselves, just sort of standing there, waiting. Then it starts to send out little threads called mycelia. As its mycelium threads replace the body of the host dies, and the spore-bearing fruit body emerges, often near the head.
Oh, that's disgusting. I hate nature. This is why I don't go outside, people.
Like some NPCs you may know and love? So how do you like them apples? I mean, them fungi. So I know what you're thinking. Man, nature is scary. And yes, it is. It's like a Fox show from the early 90s, when fungi attack. You're also probably thinking that
cool.
If the people themselves weren't mushroom-like until they were body snatched, then why is it called the Mushroom Kingdom in the first place? Well, there's an easy answer to that as we turn to the original manual for Super Mario Bros. The manual introduced the Goombas, or should I say the little Goombas, as mushrooms who betrayed the Mushroom Kingdom, implying that the Mushroom Kingdom is actually their homeland, and that it's the Goombas who were the land's namesake in the first place. And before you start yelling at me about Goombas actually being chestnuts because their Japanese name is Karibo, Takashi Tezuka, assistant director and game designer for Mario 1, in an interview with Satoru Iwata, confirmed that no matter what you think, Goombas are, in fact, based off shiitake mushrooms. Assistant director and game designer.
They do look like mushrooms. I mean, they really do.
That's a primary source, my friends. So if this is their kingdom and they're getting displaced from it, it would be natural they would want to defect to Bowser if it meant getting their homeland back. It might also explain why one of Bowser's core troops are so weak. They're not really fighters at all. They're just refugees of war, victimized by the Toads, and they're doing anything in their power to get back home. Skeptical? Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, mind-controlling mushrooms? Yeah, okay, sure. But I wouldn't present you with this theory if there wasn't more. Remember that mycelium I mentioned earlier? Those thin fungal threads that slowly replace the host's flesh? Well, they serve another important purpose in real life too. Crisscrossing through the soil, connecting plants and fungus to a vast natural underground fungal.
This is freaking me out. Especially, we got this weird background music going on too. You didn't need to add that. You didn't need it.
Internet. Seriously, mushrooms are scary, my theorists. Around 90% of land plants are in some sort of beneficial relationship with fungi, and it's through this subterranean mycelial network that these organisms can do anything from helping out their neighbors by sharing nutrients and advantageous information to sending toxic chemicals to sabotage an unwelcome invading force. Let me re-emphasize that. This is a fungal thread network connecting 90% of the world's plant life. It's like the Ethernet for plants.
It's crazy.
It's extremely beneficial for pre-existing flora to be plugged into this network. It even boosts their immune system. So it's no stretch to imagine that in the Mushroom Kingdom, where the fungi have achieved sentience, that the natural internet would do much more, making the landscape seem almost alive. Which sounds totally crazy at first, until you realize that all those weirdly shaped Mushroom Kingdom hills really do have eyes. Which, when you think about it, is much scarier.
I always wondered why they had eyes. It was weird. Also, as I said, the background music is making this a lot worse than it should be. Why? Why do you have this weird background music? Take it out! Oh my goodness. Or at least give me some happy ukulele royalty-free music or something. I think I would like that better.
Than the movie by the same name. And if you're thinking I'm going to be relying on a retro game and an old poorly translated manual for all my evidence here, think again. We recently had a game focused entirely on Toad, and it revealed a lot. In a recent GameSpot interview with producer of Captain Toad Koichi Hayashida, he explained that Toads don't have genders in the way that we think of them. He also went out of his way to confirm that Captain Toad and Toadette aren't romantically involved in any way. So why are we celebrating two video game characters not getting it on? Well, glad I asked. Most fungi reproduce using spores in an extremely non-sexual process that involves around 36,000 different genders. Facts that directly parallel how Hayashida described the Toad's behavior. If Toad and Toadette were having a bunch of in the
I hate that voice!
Garage, boom, our theory would be busted. Instead, we get confirmation that the toad species doesn't act that way. It's almost as though each coloration and variety of toad is like its own sex. Hundreds to thousands of different toad genders, just like the real-life shrooms. And if that's not enough, in the same interview, Hayashida confirmed that toads aren't mushrooms at all, stating, quote, "This particular riddle might stay unsolved. That's one of the great mysteries of the Mario universe," end quote.
I can't figure out if, like, you know, if Nintendo does this on purpose by, like, you know, when they originally thought of Mario, did they come up with this entire massive plot or whatever first? Or did they just come up with, you know, a simple platformer with a little bit of backstory behind it? We're like, yeah, let's just call it a day, we're gonna do this.
Quote, "Oh yeah? Never thought anyone would put together that toads were brainwashed husks, controlled by mushrooms operating a vast fungi intelligence network? Huh, well, think again." Need more proof? Remember those mycelium we've talked about twice now? The fungus internet? Well, recently, mycologists, that's fancy talk for mushroom professors, have discovered a method for drying out mycelia and mixing it with other natural compounds to create a self-growing building material that's stronger than concrete. In fact, in 2014, at the Museum of Modern Art in New York, they erected a tower made of these exact blocks. It's awesome, and it looks really neat, but turning mushrooms into bricks. Where have we heard that one before? Oh yeah, that's exactly what Bowser did to the people of the Mushroom Kingdom way back in Super Mario Bros. For the NES. Now if we crack open the old manual again, we can see that yes, it explains Bowser's first plan was to, quote, "transform all the mushroom people into things like rocks, bricks, and horsetail plants."
I didn't know that. That's freaking crazy. Wow, Bowser has a lot darker agenda than I originally anticipated.
Thus causing the Mushroom Kingdom's downfall, end quote. Still not convinced? Well, good for you. You should always question things people tell you. But take a look at this. The rocks and bricks make pretty good sense right away. We already know what the deal is there. But what about this weird horsetail plant thing? What are those? Pretty weird thing for the manual to specifically mention, right? You might even think it was some kind of translation error, but nope, it appears in both the Japanese and English versions. And then you start doing research, and you begin realizing that horsetail plants are a real thing. In fact, horsetail plants are often used in farming precisely because the plant's high silica content effectively stops fungal growth. A plant that stops mushrooms from growing. From that one bizarrely specific detail in the manual, we instantly can understand that Bowser is trying to stop the spread of some fungus. A toad fungus.
Oh. I gotta piss. This is crazy. This is something I never would have expected from Nintendo. Because it looks like MatPat's right in his assumption. So it looks like Nintendo really went that far into like a plot. Which I never anticipated that, like, when playing the games. But yeah, it looks like the freaking toads are, like, controlled by fungus, and Bowser is trying to, wait, so Bowser's trying to stop the fungus? Does that mean Bowser's the good guy?
Imagine you're Bowser. You rule your own kingdom. You are King Koopa. Everyone living beneath you is pretty happy doing whatever they're doing, when all of a sudden there's a tiny little knock on your castle door. Help, help! The thousands of tiny little Goombas say, "Our kingdom is being overrun by a parasitic fungus." Now, normally you wouldn't carry out an act of war against a neighboring kingdom, but partly because you don't want it spreading to your own kingdom, and partly because you don't want to deal with thousands of useless little shiitake drones at the gate, you do everything you can to eradicate this fungus menace. From repurposing the invaders into environmentally friendly masonry, to planting horsetail plants as a countermeasure to keep them from coming back, and even securing the royalty next door in your castle until the plague passes, so she doesn't get infected.
Bowser's the good guy? Bowser's the good guy? Are you kidding me? This is a mind-blowing revelation to me. That Bowser is like the good guy. Wow, this blew my mind.
Actually a pretty upstanding and logical thing for Bowser to do, but then greedy old Mario shows up, hungry for his cake, or his kiss, or whatever. He touches your axe that makes the bridge fall. Why do you keep that thing around, Bowser? And boom, you fall into the lava and suddenly you're the bad guy for all times. Mario, the guy who in the manual is described as, quote, the hero of the story. Maybe. What an odd thing to say.
Yeah,
Sure,
why would they actually put that in, like, the real Nintendo thing is that he's the hero of the story? Maybe. Bowser looks like he's more of the hero. This blew my mind. This blew my mind.
You may make a big deal about Bowser being a bad dude and everything, but history is written by the winners, Internet. And if you're a good player, that winner is you. And Mario. And Peach. Which brings up one last question. Where does Peach fit into all this? Why isn't she infected? Well, you already know the answer. I showed it to you a few minutes ago. Toad, the mushrooms, serve the princess. The American manual changes it to say, quote, serves in the court of the princess, end quote, but a direct translation of the Japanese just says that the toads serve her. And
wait, so is she the fungus queen or something like that?
we see in Smash Brothers that she's very adept at using toads to get what she wants. Ever wonder how an airhead who can't tell whether or not she's won a kart race can maintain control of a kingdom? Cordyceps. One word, cordyceps. Peach is the one who brought the toads to the Mushroom Kingdom in the first place. That's why they all worship her, and that's why in the US for 8 years she went by another name, one that tipped us all off to her grand scheme from the very beginning. Peach's other name, Princess Toadstool.
Oh, did I win?
So, like I said at the beginning of the episode, something is certainly rotten in the state of the Mushroom Kingdom. But hey, that's just a theory.
That freaking blew my mind. That blew my mind. So Bowser's the good guy. Bowser's the good guy. What? No, but really, Bowser's the good guy. He's trying to stop the virus or the fungus from spreading to his kingdom. So he's building the weird horsetail plants to try to stop it that way, and he's getting rid of the toads by turning them into bricks or something. Bowser's like basically the good guy, he's trying to save or stop the problem from spreading. This is by far the most interesting and mind-blowing episode of the Game Theorist that I've ever seen. Because there's no way I would have expected this. I mean, I've played Mario, I've played it for years, but I've never really gone that crazy into the story. But now that, it's explained to me like this, it makes so much sense. And I just can't believe Nintendo would go that far into making a plot like that. That blows my mind as well. But yeah, anyway, I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Possibly share with a friend if you're new. And subscribe to join the family. Also, make sure you go subscribe to the Game Theorist. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Boop!